It's the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul, the podcast about stories in business and in life with your hosts Ed Fox and Paul Odendahl. G'day viewers and listeners, it's Ed Fox and Paul Odendahl with the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul. And our special guest today is Chris Tice, the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, Chris, thanks for being on the call.
Hey, thanks for having me. I've been excited for this for a while. So glad to be here with you too. And just looking forward to seeing the inspiration that comes out of the conversation that we have, let alone the fun we're going to have as well. So
true, that's so true. So Chris, as a way of an introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a couple of minutes of background and what you're doing.
I currently running a company with my wife. We co-own it. It's Eagle Fire Enrichment. We're your leadership solutions company. And what that means is I'm a leadership coach and inspirational speaker. I love speaking life into people, and I love people realizing and seeing their visions come to life, especially as a leader. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have rank, title, and position. A leader is someone who wants to inspire others to do great things while also being great themselves. And then my wife runs the health and wellness side. And it's not just about running 5 miles on a treadmill and you can't eat cookies. Because if that was the case, she married the wrong man, because I don't like running and I love cookies. So it's all about the holistic picture of leading a healthy life. A lot of this stems from my background of being a firefighter. Retired early due to persistent injuries. And as Paul said, man of God, firm believer in God guiding and leading our lives. And I got to a point where I couldn't even stand up. I had to pray about it. And God put me back on my knees and said, this is the vision. This is where I want you. And this is where you're going to go. And so here we are today. But if I hadn't followed that or listened to that, I wouldn't know you two. I wouldn't be doing some of the things I'm doing to create the impact that God created me for, the leader that he put in me to bring out of me. Yes, there are different things I've done in leadership in and of itself, but being able to lead and guide on a mass scale, like you guys were just talking about with Nate, creates opportunity to change the world. Mm-hmm. And it changes the world for the better. It's the example of what Christ led us and told us, commanded us to do. Love God, love others. Go therefore, the Great Commission, go therefore and make disciples of many nations. And I truly believe that's what God has called me to do.
You know, Ed, I'm so excited that Chris is on the show. He reminds me every time I teach, and we're about to come out of COVID and begin classroom teaching again here in New York. I write up on the board, on the big board, I write, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. And there it is. Chris lives it. And I put the kids write it down. I see them writing it down. There's a lot of things I talk about they don't write down, but I see them writing it down in big letters. I put it on the board. I mean, we're there for driver education, or when I do insurance education, same thing. I go in every morning when we do 19 sessions. Then I put it right up on the board, big letters. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. And they'll come up and talk to me on the break. They'll write it down. They won't write half of the other shit down they're supposed to be writing down, but they'll write it down. And I'm just glad to do that. Chris is a perfect example. And you know what, Chris? Usually Ed does most of the talking on this show, like he did on the previous show. But that's okay because he's a great talker. I got a question, though. I was so blessed to meet you. And as you were speaking about the name, where did the name, or how did you come up with the name of the business?
So the eagle's always been my favorite animal. And it's because it's such a majestic animal. It's noble. It's got a healthy amount of pride. I personally believe that, yes, there's ego and that can be evil, but there is a certain amount of pride that if you don't let it lead to arrogance, if you let it lead to confidence, which is what I see in the eagle, that's what I picture people doing. The fire part of it, honestly, was just really homage to respect and honor my heritage as a firefighter. But when you combine the two, Eagle Fire, and if you look on our logo, we have the verse Isaiah 40:31. Even though youths grow tired and weary, they shall rise up on the wings of eagles. That's what we want to see people do. That's why we created this company. That's why we coach people. And it's to be able to just set a fire in your soul for the leader that God created you to be, and to take flight like the eagle, to have that pride, to have that honor, to have that majestic feeling. You can't truly restrict an eagle. Right? Now, if you want to get literal and talk about zoos and cages, no. What I'm talking about is the honor that an eagle holds. Now, the enrichment part is because we're just here to enrich lives. We're truly here to enrich lives. And when you get to see that transformation, when you get to see that change, when you get to see that smile, that's my big thing, smile. I used to not smile like I do now. I had anger, I had bitterness, it stems from my past, but I never let it go. And one day someone looked at me and said, you just need to smile more and you would feel better about yourself. And so I started to smile more, and I did. I feel better about myself. So when you get to see that enlightenment, you get to see the enrichment. And I love seeing that change. Paul, what you were saying about your classes, you're not just a driver's ed teacher.
That's right.
You're not just an insurance guy. You're an inspiration. Ed, he doesn't just run some companies and is just an entrepreneur. I've literally watched people's faces light up just when he starts to be the talker that he is, because you know one of two things are going to happen. And they both go hand in hand with each other. It's going to be comedic. It's going to have great value every single time. I've not had that yet, even with his dad jokes. Okay.
Thank you.
But you always tie it together, Ed. And I've honestly, I've truly appreciated that about you.
Well,
And you both have that healthy dose of pride that doesn't lead to this overinflated ego. And I love that, because a true leader knows where those boundaries are. Not to say we don't cross them. Listen, for those of you listen to this, I'm not perfect. I have screwed it up more times than I can count. Not proud of that.
I'm right there
at
with
the
you.
same time, I've learned leaders are learners. You're going to hear me constantly say leaders are, because there's so many things that we are. But one of them is we're learners. But you don't just take it and learn it. You got to apply it as well. And I've always seen that in you two, and I'm always so encouraged by that.
Well, I thank you for that. And you know what? This is what led me to Ed. Not to make him cry like a baby on the show, but this is what led me to Ed. And then thank God, Ed introduced me to you. Thank God. And you're right. You're right. There is a point, especially when success comes, where you could let that ego grow to the point where you can't fit in the room and you actually begin to alienate others, or you learn that more and more that you give, more you receive, and you just allow that confidence and pride to just give back more, be more confident in giving, and just have that give back to others who are in desperate need of it, as you mentioned, desperate need of positive coaching right now, and just continue to give back. And I saw Ed as a very giving person, funny, wise guy like me. We could do the comedy part of it, which we do, but he's such a blessing to me, and such a blessing to have him as a friend and as a fellow co-host, and then him giving me the opportunity to meet you. This is what these calls are about.
And I think that's what all three of us do in our own way, just like Chris and you were alluding to, Paul, was the fact that we want to give back. You know what I'm sick and tired of? I'm sick and tired of business people being painted with this evil brush because we think profit is okay. There's nothing wrong with making a profit. There are so many business folks out there that I talk to, and they all say the same thing. I ask them why they're doing this. Well, I want to help people. I want to make a difference. I want to help people. I want to make a difference. Okay, let that sink in, that virtually every person that owns a business that I've ever asked why they're doing this is, I want to help people. I want to make a difference. Profit isn't even in the top three. I can't think of what the third one would be, but profit's got to be up there, right? We've got to make a profit so we can help more people, but it's not their number one thing. Relationships before selling. That's one thing that all three of us push through BNI, through networking, when we're doing one-on-ones, when we meet people on Alignable, on Facebook, in person. We want to know how we can help them. We want to build that relationship before we sell, because we might not ever want to sell to them, right? We want to build the relationship first and foremost. And Chris, that's one of the things that interested me. And, you know, I had you do that talk for the strategic workspace. I think it was that you, and all the feedback I got, you made me look really good by suggesting your name as the speaker. So that worked out really well when we're connectors, right? So it's not the, you know, people talk about how bad big business is, how bad corporations are, but it's the little guy and gal, the business owners, the men and women across not only America, but across the world, that want their dreams to come true through building a business of helping other people. That's who I'm there for, right? That's who all of us are there for. And I think, Chris, tell us a little bit about, you don't have to be a Christian to get some good stuff out of what you're saying, right? I mean,
no, you don't. I'm going to segue into that here in a second. I just read a quote from Tony Robbins, and Tony, I'm sorry if I butcher it a little bit because I just read it the once. I got to memorize it now. But it just talked about relationship, and it said, you will know when you are in a true relationship when you realize you're in it to give, not to take.
That's right.
And the more people that I have met that are givers, such as the three of us and how we believe in this, is the more connection I get, the deeper it is, the more growth that I have. And that's as a giver. The more I have given, the more I have learned what I have received.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Bible, it says it is more blessed to give than to receive. But at the same time, when I look at the relationships that I have, the deeper that they are, the more I have grown.
that's
and I
so
don't
true.
do it out of a selfish reasons. That's just how it works.
That's
Right.
right.
And it's amazing how that happens. Now, to what you were asking me, Ed, about, no, you don't have to be a Christian to receive help. Okay, Jesus sat with everyone. And he even told his disciples when he sent them out, not everyone's going to receive you. There are going to be those who don't believe in me at all. You're going to be persecuted. He said, if that happens, you can dust your sandals off and move on. But that doesn't mean we don't have a relationship with one another.
Right.
What did he say? Love God, love others. I do everything I can to do that. Again, I'm not perfect.
Right.
I'm not Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm trying to tell people, you know, people say, oh, I don't go to church because like I've done all these things wrong. I'm like, dude, what do you think church is made up of? It's made up of us sinners, right?
Well, here's the thing. Jesus didn't come to save the saved. He came to save the sinner.
That's right.
Okay. You don't go to a doctor because you're healthy. I mean, if you get your yearly checkup, that's a whole nother.
Paul doesn't go to a doctor at all.
That we can go down to.
Paul won't go to a doctor at all, even when he's told. But you know,
He just went though. He just went.
okay.
And the results came in. He's got a good shot at 107. With God's grace, he's got a really good shot at 107. The doctor was so excited.
What Paul told me was when those results come in, see, this is why I don't go to the doctors. Everything's fine. That's what you
look
told
at him.
me.
I mean, he's tough. Look at him. He's tough. Look, there it is. That's what I want to see.
But anyway, yes, go ahead.
But here's the thing. There's a certain level of understanding and acceptance that we can have with one another. We're not always going to agree. Even as Christians, we are not always going to agree. Again, go back to the Bible. Paul had to correct Peter at one point in time. Yeah, Peter was the one that the rock was built on. The church was built on. So how do we get along? How do we bridge those gaps? Well, we have this understanding that we're not perfect. We're not. And so when we can get over this, well, I have to be like this, or I have to be like that, or, well, I'm not Chris. No, you're not Chris, and be glad about that. Okay. Well, I'm not Ed. No, you're not. You were born in America, not Australia. Okay. Well, there's the first point of order, let alone everything else. I would not look great in hats like that. He does. Looks phenomenal in them. Okay. I'm not Paul. I tried the insurance thing. Didn't work out so well for me. Nothing against the insurance industry. We all have differences, but we also have unique talents and gifts. that we can share with one another. And that doesn't mean you have to be a certain thing. That's why I don't like rank, title, position. There are times that matters. But when we can all learn to facilitate communication with one another, we could grow from it. Go ahead, Ed.
So Chris, you can work with leaders across all businesses, all organizations, all level. Basically, everybody is a leader in their own right, whether some would agree with that or not. But even in our households, we have leaders. The parents are leaders of the children, so you could work with everybody: Christian, non-Christian, business owner, non-business owner, church goer, non-church goer, non-profit. You can work with everybody. So tell us a little bit about, because I don't want our viewers and our listeners to get the wrong idea. Tell us a little bit about some of the topics you cover. They're not hiring a Christian speaker. They're hiring a Christian who's a speaker.
Yes. Yeah. So my big three are communication. And when it comes to, that always stems from, we've got to be able to communicate with one another. So on the business side of things, one of my big pet peeves is don't send out a communication, whether it's email, whether it's a talk or a meeting, just to do it. Oh, we always have Monday meetings. Why? Well, because we always have them. Why? Okay, we're going to get past that. Don't just do it to check the box, okay? But communication is also, how do you communicate with yourself? Because how you communicate with yourself is going to be how you communicate with others, whether verbal or nonverbal. If I wake up this morning and I say, well, today's going to be a crap day, and I literally have only rolled out of bed, the day hasn't even happened yet, you're going to have a crap day.
That's right.
And other people are going to see that, right? So don't do that. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to have bad days, but how we communicate is how we're going to effectively set that up. The next one is training, and I put my hands together for a reason, and development. They have to go hand in hand. And you train on something, are you going to train on it once and remember it the rest of your life? No. You remember bits and pieces, but if you continually develop it, you're going to get better at it. My first speech was not as good as my last speech. Okay. Let alone that last speech will not be as good as the next one, because I continually work on it, continually develop it. It's the same thing I expect leaders to do. And then the other biggie is safety. Safety prevention is crisis management. If you are looking at life from a safe perspective, now I'm not talking about not stepping out of the box. You guys were kind of talking about this in just this previous episode with Nate on stepping out. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain things you want to research and learn and grow from and apply in a safe manner. From an organizational standpoint, simple things. Don't let a bunch of trash pile up around a workspace so someone trips on it and gets hurt. Yet we see it every day. So now we have a crisis. Well, how do we get through this crisis? Well, if we've been communicating, we've been training and developing, we're going to know who can do what, when, and where, and how they're going to do it. And the big thing there is, what is their strengths?
Sweet. Do you have a sweet spot when it comes to groups that you like talking to?
As far as my specific niche, it's definitely the first responders. And that's just because that's what I was. And that's where all those principles, a huge part of that is what I learned and who I grew from during that time. The industrial world and the construction and maintenance, because a lot of the application, especially when you start talking safety, comes into that. But the biggie when it comes to the inspirational side and speaking to that inner leader, going back to your point, Ed, on who all I can talk to as a broader scope, it's those that want to develop themselves. And when I get people go, oh, I don't know if I'm a leader. Do you want to positively influence people? Yeah. Okay. Do you want it to have massive impact? Well, of course. So you want others to be inspired to do the same and go beyond you? Yes. Okay. So you just met the 3 great I's of leadership.
Right.
Influence, impact, and inspiration. Everything else will come together. So anybody that wants to do that, wants to see that, wants to feel that, let's go. Let's go.
Can you say those 3 again so people don't have to rewind? Or you can't rewind, but skip back 10 seconds. Influence,
impact, and inspiration.
It was because I couldn't remember the last one to write it down.
No, it's okay.
Inspiration. Okay. We don't check.
And that's why I call myself an inspirational speaker. Taking this from Ed Milet and Tony Robbins talk about it all the time. Motivation is like a warm shower. You feel good after you've taken it, but after a day, 2, 3, a week, no judgment, you need another one, right?
Right.
But inspiration, if you look at the word inspiration, what's in the middle? Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
When you inspire somebody, it gets to their spirit. They want to do the same. They want to grow it. They want to make it better. I want to see people be better. I want to see people be better than me. You want to talk about being a parent, being a leader? I tell my kids every day, don't be like daddy, be better than daddy. Great leaders create greater leaders.
That's right.
Not just followers.
That's right.
If you want to follow, that's great. All for it. Let's learn. Let's develop together. Great leaders create greater leaders. And that's another quote that's all over the place.
I'm going to suggest with Chris that we maybe do a part 2 of this, because there is so much to dig into. Not just come back at some point in the future, but let's have you back as soon as you can, so we continue to talk. I think the 3 of us could do this as a series and set it up separately, because there's a lot of great information you got, Chris. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm really active on those 3. I'm still learning Alignable. I know that's your guys' big one. Got to get more active on that. Or, and this is a mouthful, but it's Chris at eaglefireenrichment.com. So just put my name in front of my company name and you can email me that way. But if you're really looking to see the different things I say and do, because I try and post videos most every day, those 3 social medias are really my easiest way to follow and keep up with me.
And we'll have this in the show notes, viewers and listeners. So on YouTube, Facebook, and the podcast areas, Chris will send us over that information in an email, and we'll make sure it gets attached to this. Paul, any last thoughts?
Yes, before we go, we've been talking a lot today about BNI. I'm going to put a plug in for Alignable. Yes, Chris, we do like Alignable. Chris, you 2 guys, now I'm going to try not to get emotional. You 2 guys are such an inspiration to me. You really are. I started a new group in Alignable this weekend. So the group, which I just sent you an invite to, is called Alignable Posipod. Posipod. And the law of positivity. It would be such a blessing to have you as a member, possibly even as a what do they call them, Ed? The
Moderator.
Supporters, the not
Admin.
mentors. Moderator in the group, admin and moderator in the group would be a blessing. I mean, the Posi Pod is the group.
Okay.
The members are potters. In each little potter, the pod is person of destiny. And it's all about the 6 pillars of positivity by Norman Dominguez, and who I met through BNI. And practicing this positivity. It would be an honor, a blessing, and I just sent you an invitation to have you. And also, Ed, I have invited you to the group, but of course, Ed and I work very closely together. But yes, we need a part 2. We absolutely need a part 2 as quickly as possible.
Okay, I'll get a message to you guys.
Thanks so much. And people can reach out to you. And as long as they're paying your travel expenses and a per diem, you'll go anywhere in the world, right? I would take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would love to. I love to travel. That, especially now things are starting to open back up, respectfully, whatever's going on in that area, I will respect that. So yeah, absolutely. Would love to. Real quick, when I close out my videos, my dad asked me, he goes, "You realize you say the same thing after every video?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Because I believe it. I believe it for myself and I believe it for others. And what it is go out and make every day great." Remember that can't never did. There's a lot behind that quote. We can get to it another time. God bless us all. Gentlemen, thank you and God bless you.
And to your point, thank you very much, Chris. And to your point, we drove back from Wichita at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. And we got to about Poplar Bluffs, Missouri at about 6 a.m. And I was done. I couldn't drive anymore. I'd been up all day, been meeting people all day, saw the new grandkid, Penelope, Bianca, Jason and Becky, my son and daughter-in-law had a new baby, had the first baby, one of many, I hope. And so that was fun, but we were exhausted. And so, when we woke up in the morning, we'd only had a few hours sleep and we had to get back on the road to get the rest of the way to Nashville. And Alice is like, well, how do you feel? And that's exactly right. I had a choice right at that moment, right? It's the little choices. I had a choice right at that moment. I could have said, I feel like crap, and verbalized it to the world. And I actually said, I thought about that for a second. I thought, you know what? I just had a great week in Wichita, catching up with a bunch of people. Chris, I got to see you at the Mixer on Monday night, which was awesome. The first time we'd met in person. And so I just thought about it. I had just come off a great week. I'm on a high. Why bring that down with negativity? And I said, you know what? I feel awesome. I actually feel really, really good. And she goes, you know what? I feel the same way. And we got on the road and we got back to Nashville at a decent hour. She went to work at 6 o'clock this morning. And I got started with this stuff early, 9 o'clock corporate call, not early for me, not for you guys, but early for me. Yeah, early. I rock at 11:30. But again, it's attitude determines your altitude, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. Enthusiasm makes the difference. If you haven't read those oldies but goodies, viewers and listeners, drag them out. The Magic of Thinking Big, Think and Grow Rich, the Bible, Proverbs. I want to leave you with this quote I post on my Facebook wall. And, we talked a little bit about Christian stuff. We're all Christian. But this, John 3:16 to me is the one that I've used all the time to tell people where I'm really at. But I also like Romans 9:10, I think it is. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Not by works. We want to do good things because we're Christian, not that we do good things to be saved. So anyway, I want to leave you with that. I know it's a little Christian-y, but hey, I am who I am. I'm authentic. So check it out. Viewers, listeners, thanks for checking in. Paul, what do you got for us?
When you come to our group, Ed, you join. I've welcomed Chris. The Potters, when you're asked, we say, I'm remarkable. I'm remarkable.
I'm sort of like a whiteboard.
And this episode has been remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah, you didn't catch that, did you? I'm like a whiteboard. Remarkable.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, guys, have a great day. Well, that's it for this edition of the Wake Up Call with Ed and Paul. Thanks for listening. As always, we appreciate it. And if you'd like to subscribe, you can do that on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube. Thanks a lot and have a great day.